Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the sixth installment of what I like to call What I Read Wednesdays, where we read and analyze some of the most interesting books that I can find. In today's episode, we're going to start reading the Virgie Tovar book, You Have the Right to Remain Fat. I recently wrapped up the Tess Holiday book, Take Up Space, Y'all, which was pretty boring. That's why we cut that one short. Hopefully this book is a lot more interesting. Before we proceed, please click the like button so that I may apply comb to mustache. You Have the Right to Remain Fat by Virgie Tovar, and then there's a picture of her laying across the word. The back of the book says, Virgie Tovar has had enough of diet culture and fat phobia. This is her manifesto. Oh boy. Fierce, passionate, and poignant, You Have the Right to Remain Fat will inspire you and ignite the revolution. That's from Linda Bacon, who I believe is Lindo Bacon now. Let's take a look at what some other people have to say about this book in the beginning here. You know how books often have these? Virgie Tovar is a vital voice in contemporary activism, media, and feminism. The joy she takes in her own body and life, combined with the righteous anger she expresses at an oppressive world, is a truly radical act. Tovar is deeply thoughtful, but does not equivocate. She confronts bigotry, but does not engage with bullshit. That's what Kelsey Miller had to say. She's the author of Big Girl, How I Gave Up Dieting and Got a Life. Okay, so she makes similar content, writes similar books. All right, I don't need to read any more other people telling us that this is a great book. I already know. I bought it. Introduction. My body used to belong to me. When I was a little girl, my favorite part of the day was when we got home from errands or preschool. I would push the front door open with both small hands and run through the living room filled with plastic-wrapped furniture, past the washer-dryer that made funny sounds that I liked, past my bedroom filled with a growing collection of Winnie the Pooh toys, into the bathroom. I would take all my clothes off as quickly as possible, shimmying out of my underwear and pants, breaking out of my shirt like it was an inconvenient membrane. I would leave the pile on the floor and then run back out, giggling with uncontained delight to the kitchen where my grandmother was always cooking. I would stop at the end of the little hall where the calico cat-colored rug met the linoleum of the dining room. I would spread out my arms and legs as far as I could, and I would jiggle. My thighs and belly, my cheeks and my whole body would wobble. I would turn my head in circles. I liked that everything moved and undulated. Dude, this book is going to be wild as hell. My body was like the water in the bathtub or the water at the community pool, which I loved so much in the summer. Okay, so we always enjoyed the look of adipose tissue or fat on our body, jiggling all around and whatnot. We've always appreciated that, even from the time we were a child. Okay, my body was like the water in the bathtub or the water in the community pool, which I loved so much in the summer. My body was like that water, a source of relief and fun, a place I could jump into and be held. It felt good. Oh, it felt so good. I remember how curious I was and how much I loved that my body could do these incredible things. I had no sense of self-awareness, only the immediacy of pleasure. Alright, this is worded very strangely. Is this like specialty type of content? Like that one content we were reading from Virgie that one time? She had a post on Instagram where she was talking in great detail about butter melting and going down between her toes when she was eating a crab boil or a seafood boil or whatever the hell. Like, that felt like specialty type of content. Is this also going to be specialty type of content? I think back on that time in my life as if it was someone else's story. It feels so far away. I feel protective of that little girl who couldn't imagine the horrible education awaiting her. Less than a year later, those jiggle-filled afternoons would disappear. What? No. I would find myself being taught by boys at school that I was unlovable and disgusting because of my fat body. I would lose sight of how magical my body was, how magical I was. I would lose the sense that my body was mine at all. Okay, so she's saying that she used to love her body until people at school started making fun of her And then she started thinking that there was a problem. All the freedom and wonder I felt became supplanted by a sharp sense that I had failed at something big, and that it was my job to fix it, to fix me. Rather than learning to trust my instincts and value myself, I learned that the size of my body was the only thing that mattered about me. Through a series of violent, culturally sanctioned events, so commonplace that women simply call them life, my innate relationship to my body was taken from me and replaced with something foreign and alien and harmful. My relationship to my body was replaced with one toxic idea: your body is wrong. This idea would threaten my happiness and my health for nearly 2 decades. As much as I wish it were, my story is not unique. It is, in many ways, the story of women's lives in America. As I was writing the introduction to this book, I got an email from a woman who told me that she was being treated for various types of EDs that disproportionately affects women and only exists in cultures that glorify thinness. Even though she was seeking treatment for a disorder that threatened her very life, she was still cautioned against gaining too much weight while in recovery. Her email reminded me of the first time I'd heard such a story. A woman told me she had cancer that went untreated because her doctor told her that the problem was her weight. She went in for an appointment because she was experiencing excruciating menstrual cramps and very heavy periods. She was afraid. Rather than examining her, the doctor told her that if she lost weight, that everything would be fine. Had the doctor been willing to take her seriously, she could have found the lump in her uterus, but instead it grew unchecked for another 3 years, and I was reminded of my own childhood and my education in body shame that sought to steal from me the most precious thing I would ever have, the inherent magic of being alive and the vehicle through which the magic is experienced, my body. Okay, we really love our body. A whole lot. The perpetrators of these stories are body shame, fat phobia, and dieting, which hide behind the seemingly innocuous language of self-improvement, inspiration, and health. In many ways, however, these ideas are merely symptoms of a larger cultural problem. While we have spent the last 25 years cleaning up the sexist residue in our vocabulary, we have been living out woman-hating methods of control via our dinner plates and our bathroom scales, often not even knowing that this is what we are doing. I didn't know that that's what we were doing. I thought that dinner plates and bathroom scales existed for everyone, and everybody had access to these. I did not realize that these were tools of oppression aimed specifically at you. We are giving away our lives, our time, our energy, our claim to pleasure, our desire, and our power one bite at a time. Take a shot every time she says the word pleasure in this book. Well, you know, there are more pleasurable things in life than eating, like going for a hike or doing various physical activities. Submission has taken on a new face. Where once there was barred access to meaningful employment and the right to vote, sexism today has morphed into skipped meals and too many hours spent at the gym. As Naomi Wolf famously wrote in The Beauty Myth, dieting is the most potent political sedative in women's history. Okay, so we're acting like dieting is a tool of oppression. What? Which diet are we specifically referring to? The act of trying to lose weight and doing various fad diets, like the Yoga Booty Body Beach Blast diet? Most potent political sedative, dieting. Okay, so you're saying dieting is being used to sedate women and keep them out of politics. So you're saying we could shut down any political discourse just like this. Hi, my name is Kathleen and I'm running for mayor. As you can see, I am the right woman for the job. My name is Joe. I am also running for mayor. As you can see, the candidate standing across from me is fat. I plan to improve the city by doing... Wait, what? I'm fat? Man, I don't even want to be involved in politics anymore. Quit sedating me with your diets. I was about to change the world. I'm not saying this is right, by the way. This is satirical. Don't make fun of anybody for their weight. I promise you that everything I tell you here is the truth. Good enough for me. Good enough for me. As well as I can tell it. What does that mean? Everything I'm about to tell you is the truth. As well as I could tell it. Okay, so there will be various lies mixed in? Is that what that means? Of my 7 years spent researching diet culture and fat phobia, I promise you that I don't have an agenda besides my deepest desire that reading this book will leave you with some tools to combat this horrible, assisted femicide masked as diet culture. Okay, she promises me that she doesn't have an agenda. Once again, good enough for me, I believe you. I don't know why, but I believe her. I will admit that I want you to get super pissed off that you have been lied to and that there are cultural forces actively attempting to dismantle the most precious parts of your selfhood right now, and then getting you to pay for that violent process. Oh yeah, losing weight is violent. I forgot about that. It is only when we stop lying to ourselves that we can stop being lied to by others. Now, if that ain't the most ironic. It is only when we trust our own experience of the truth that we can be free. Diet culture seeks to undermine that very thing. Self-trust, our inner compass, that reptilian and prehistoric guide living inside us. You have a reptile living inside of you? Okay. Suspicions confirmed. No, I'm just kidding. I never suspected that. Our greatest inheritance accumulated over generations of living on this planet, and that's why I wrote this book. I write from a place of professional and personal investment. Professionally, I am a body image expert, lecturer, and author, as well as a scholar in the emerging discipline of fat studies. A body image expert and lecturer. What does that mean? So when people come to you and they're like, you know what? I don't feel that great about my body. I have very poor body image. You say to them, stop caring about all that. Love your body. And then they say, why didn't I think of that? Oh my God, this is just crazy enough to I guess. I have to pay you for that. You're going to give us a lecture on how to give up on diet culture. I don't understand how this is a job. Like, body image coach. Oh, no. Body image expert. What does that mean? I'm an expert in body image. Some people have a body image and they think this, that, and the other thing about themselves. I'm an expert in telling them to knock it off. I don't understand. And you're a scholar in the emerging discipline of fat studies. Yeah, that discipline was emerging for a while there, and then it went back to wherever the heck it came from. I heard they had fat studies at Massey U, and the person who taught that passed away quite a few years back. I believe her name was Kat Pause or Pause or whatever. Personally, I am a fashionista, a vociferous activist, a lover of creamy pastries, a world traveler, a potty mouth, and a San Francisco bohemian who loves pedicures, cheetah print, and chihuahuas, and who couldn't live without mimosas, huge sunglasses, tiny bathing suits, and my Hitachi magic wand. Alright, I just looked up what the Hitachi magic wand is. What the heck? Why are we writing about not being able to live without our adult toy? That's weird to put in here. What the hell? Vociferous activist. Oh my goodness. I am also a 250-pound woman who chose to stop dieting because I wanted to start living my life rather than continue dreaming about it. 250-pound woman. Okay, I don't know why we're telling me that. Let's see, this was written back in 2018. Okay. I used to believe that I was afraid of food and of being fat, but now I know that the fear was of a deeply troubled culture that would not allow me to thrive. What? So it turned out that you weren't actually afraid of food or being fat, you were afraid of a deeply troubled culture? Whatever I tell you in the following pages is told with the greatest desire to see women live the life we all deserve to live, the life that our wider culture will never grant you, the one that you must take. The key to that life is the unbridling of our desire. Too many references to passion and desire in this book. This culture teaches us to extinguish that desire the moment we are taught that women shouldn't be fat. I say, you have the right to remain fat. Okay. What are fat phobia and diet culture? I think it's almost a fact that everyone remembers that kid in their class who used to look up all the girls' skirts. I don't believe we had one of those in our class. For me, that person was Joshua. For me, preschool, we were 4. I remember one day we had been crawling around in a brightly colored plastic tube like one of those gerbil mazes for toddlers. I was breathless from trying to escape him. I was mostly pretending he was chasing me. He was actually chasing a smaller girl who was behind me in the gerbil tube. He always chased and terrorized girls, trying to look up their skirts. He never tried to look up mine though, and I sensed that his rejection augured something bigger. You took that as rejection when that weird-ass kid back in preschool didn't look up your skirt, but looked up other people's skirts. You took that as some form of rejection. Dude, what? I like how this is starting off completely insane. Like, right out the gate, we are just going completely off the rails. Okay, I like that. This book gets right into it. It's like an action movie where the action just starts immediately. I don't think it's a coincidence that the boy who looked up skirts was also the first person who ever called me fat. Or at least the first person I remember calling me that. After all, unsolicited masculine sexual attention and the drive to control feminine bodies go hand in hand. This was a child in preschool, dude. Like, obviously, it is not okay that he was looking up girls' skirts or any of that, but I don't know if he had a desire to control feminine bodies because of his masculinity. It was a child. Like, what? I remember we were both standing on the blacktop, and that's when he said it. "You're fat." I was confused. I didn't have any context for the word. It wasn't a word that had been in my world before then, but there was something about the way he said it. That rings as true. I think there are a lot of people who were younger and were larger and didn't even realize that they were different at all until somebody else brought it up and started making fun of them. Other kids on the playground and whatnot. I could tell from the way he hurled it out of his mouth like snot that it was a hurtful word. A word meant to remind me that I had forgotten something about who I was. I knew there was some distant connection between my wish for him to look up my skirt and his desire to hurt me. You wished for him to look up your skirt, and that was connected to his desire to hurt you. This is getting very strange. I just stared at him, trying to calculate this new reality. It wouldn't be long before I was in kindergarten and I would hear that word all the time. I would become that word, and I would adopt that hatred toward myself that my classmates had for me. Alright, well that's messed up. For a long time, I didn't know that other people's hatred wasn't my fault, and I didn't know that their hatred had a name. Fat phobia is a form of bigotry that positions fat people as inferior and as objects of hatred and derision. Fat phobia targets and scapegoats fat people, but it ends up harming all people. Everyone ends up in one of two camps. They are either living the pointed reality of fat phobic bigotry, or they are living in fear of becoming subject to it. So, fat phobia uses the treatment of fat people as a means of controlling the body size of all people. Fat phobia creates an environment of hostility towards large-bodied people, promotes a pathological relationship to food and movement, which, when dieting transforms into diet and exercise, gasp, and places the burden of anti-fat bias on non-compliant individuals, that is, fat people. Okay, so fat phobia creates an environment of hostility towards large people, promotes a pathological relationship to food and movement. Okay, so it acknowledges that there is a correlation between our food and movement and our body size. Because of the way fat people are positioned in our culture, people learn to fear becoming fat. They are afraid of discrimination and hatred. It is normal to feel afraid of people hating you. It is not normal for people to hate anyone based on how much they weigh. I agree with that, and hopefully nobody actually hates anybody. Some people say some mean things because they are jerks and or have personal issues that they are dealing with. Hopefully that doesn't mean that they straight up hate somebody. Hate is a very strong word. It is furthermore not normal, fair, or ethical to feel you have to comply with body conformity expectations in order to avoid hatred and discrimination. We as a culture have characterized being fat as an inherently bad thing, when in reality body size is meaningless and lacks the good or bad associations imposed by wider culture. We were not born thinking fat is bad and thin is good. We learn these things through an ongoing cultural education. education. In no example did this become clearer to me than when I began reading the work of anthropologists doing ethnographies in regions of the contemporary world where women go to extreme lengths to be as fat as possible. I will return to this research later on. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what parts of the world have women that go to extreme lengths to be fat. What sort of extreme lengths? Eating a whole lot of food. That's the extreme length, okay? I will return to this research later on. I love that we spent time researching that. Like, this one culture really worships fat bodies and they love it. Like, when we take a moment to recognize what our culture teaches us about fat people, it becomes really clear really quickly that fat phobia is a form of bigotry obscured by the naturalizing language of beauty and health and the false narrative of concern. False narrative of concern. Some people are concerned. A recent experience that cemented the reality of fat-phobic bigotry in my mind happened when I was attending a conference called NOLO's. Unlike previous years, the conference was held in Portland, Oregon, rather than Oakland, California, and was at a much larger hotel than ever before. For the first time, we were sharing accommodations with many other guests who were not associated with the conference. In Oakland, we take over the hotel. Over the course of the 3-day conference, we were gawked at like oddities because almost all of the conference participants were fat. The pool was near the lobby and people would line up, nose pressed against the glass, to stare at us while we were swimming. Are you sure? Come on, man. Oh my God, look, those people are fat? What? Boy, like, are you sure, dude? Several participants were followed and intimidated by guests from our local hotel and even a neighboring one. Some of these guests even forced their way into private events and refused to leave despite requests from conference volunteers and hotel staff. Okay, so you guys were having a plus-sized conference and people kept crashing it. They probably heard people giving presentations about being fat and stuff as they were walking by the conference hall or whatever the hell you call it, and they had to stop and step in. We have casinos here that do various type of conferences and whatnot, and conventions and stuff. One time I accidentally stumbled into a furry convention over at the GSR, which is a casino here in Reno. This was several years back. I was taking my daughter there for a birthday party, and we showed up, and there were just furries everywhere. It was actually awesome. I thought it was great. I thought it was really interesting and funny. There was one playing the theorem or whatever that instrument is where you wave your hand around and it makes these weird noises. Like, I stumbled into a couple different events there, wandered in, looked around for a bit, wandered out. They didn't get too mad, but maybe that's what those other people were doing. They were like, dude, what the hell is this? A fat convention? What the heck? So they had to go and sit and listen to the presentation for a couple minutes. I would be like, what are they even talking about? Let me go and sit down. Let me go take a little bit of this in. All right, go. At one point, I was waiting for an elevator, and as the doors opened, I heard a man say, "There's one of them," speaking to a group of 2 women and 2 children and pointing at me. He was following conference attendees around with his family, offering commentary like he was leading a tour in a zoo. I hope not. That sounds really mean. But it also sounds like it might have not happened. I finally approached him and his family in the middle of a hotel hallway. I clocked them entering their room from about 300 feet away, and my anger was unleashed. I told him how disgusting it was that he was behaving like a bigot in front of his family. I didn't see him again for the remainder of the weekend. Thank Saint Stevie Nicks. If we're going to invoke a deity, let it be Stevie. It's important to instill the fear of the unhinged fat feminist into shameless fat phobes. Okay, we brought up Stevie Nicks, who is the singer from Fleetwood Mac, in case any of you did not know. After that ugly encounter, some of my fat friends and I decided to get lunch. We decided that the hotel restaurant would be easy, and so the 6 of us filed in and sat down. The menus were on the table, and after a few minutes, the waitress came over. She greeted us by saying, "No joke. Let me guess, you people all want separate checks?" I was legitimately shocked by her hateful language. You people? I don't know what was so hateful about that. Let me guess, you people all want separate checks? That's hateful language, because she said you people. She stood with her hip cocked in an air of uncontained annoyance at our audacity for having come into the restaurant. Audacity, strike that, the gall for having come into the restaurant of the hotel where we were all staying. A hush overtook the entire table. The women I was with lowered their heads, and one after the other they offered their orders quietly and apologetically. This woman had triggered them. She had reminded all of us of moments throughout our lives where fat phobes had talked to us as if they wished we didn't exist, as if we were less than others. What do you mean? She said, let me guess, you all want separate checks. Hold on, let me just go back and make sure that I didn't hallucinate or something right there. Let me guess, you people all want separate checks. She greeted us by saying, no joke. Let me guess, you people all want separate checks. You're kidding. I thought that was a joke because it's so outrageous. What do you mean you guys all want separate checks? What the hell is that supposed to mean? I am deeply offended by this. Why? I don't know. When it came time for me to tell her what I was having, I refused to order anything and instead asked, is there any reason you are treating everyone at this table so unacceptably? Because she asked if you wanted separate checks and referred to you guys as you people. I am very confused. In that moment, something bizarre happened. She paused for a second, her face frozen, and then completely snapped out of bigotry mode and into sweet as pie mode. It was like watching a robot switch programs from asshole to artifice in 2 seconds flat. She didn't apologize, but from that moment forward, she didn't snap out of her customer service mode again. Okay, so you put her in her place, and then she started acting right. Okay, that's good. We decided that the way we wanted to deal with the situation was to finish the meal and not leave a tip. Someone recently introduced me to the concept of radical pettiness, and I feel like this was one of those moments where all we could do was fight bigotry with a small capitalist retaliation. Yeah, typically when you don't like the service at a restaurant, you give a crappy tip or no tip. So I don't know if that was radical resistance or whatever the hell, capitalist retaliation. Do we have to put such a bizarre spin on everything, dude? I don't know if I would call that radical pettiness or fighting bigotry with small capitalist retaliation. It's actually fairly common to not leave a tip when someone gives you poor service at a restaurant, so I don't know how radical this is. I don't know if it's even petty. It's just using the tip service for what it's for. Like, you didn't give me good service, you don't get a good tip. The waitress goes and sees that you didn't leave a tip, and she's like, oh, this is a capitalist retaliation. How could they? How could you retaliate against me in such a capitalist fashion? How dare they? How dare they? This was because of my bigotry, wasn't it? Damn it! Damn it! When will I learn? When will I learn? You gotta be nice to people to get the tips, idiot! Nice to people. Ugh! Keep forgetting that. Damn it! I've never experienced fat phobia in a collective way before. When I'm alone, I am easy to dismiss, but when I'm part of a group of fat people, my existence creates a sense of threat that needs to be squashed. Oh? That day, I felt like we were not only being socially punished for being fat, but for liking ourselves enough that we would be seen with others who looked like us. You thought all that? You thought that this rando was socially punishing you for being fat and liking yourself and having the audacity to be with others who also looked like you? Wow, you could read a lot into a look or into a word, right? You people or you all want separate checks means all of that. Wow, man. Okay, and we're gonna wrap up the book right there. This book is already super interesting and I love it. Dude, I could keep on going right through this whole thing. Virgie is not messing around, dude. Tess, this is how you write a book, okay? All right, and next time we're gonna have to pick up right here on page 22. So far, I like this book a whole lot. I can't wait till we get to the part where she teaches us about how some societies encourage women to be larger and they go to extreme lengths to accomplish this, or whatever the heck that part is about. I can't wait till we get to that part. I love how exaggerated everything is. When the waitress comes and offers to give us all separate checks, we act like she's being a bigot and making fun of us or something, and then we start lecturing her. I wonder how many of these lectures are going to take place throughout the course of this book. In the first several pages that we just read, Virgie Virgie said a lot of very interesting things. She said she felt rejected when the boy in preschool didn't want to look up her skirt. She said that people were making fun of her at a fat conference. And she said that she had to school some waitress for being a bigot. But what do you think about the pages that I've read so far? Leave a comment below. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.